The butt of the Winchester slammed into Marina's ribcage for the third time, and she crumpled onto the gritty boards of her cabin, each breath a ragged rasp. "Please, Cornelius, no more," she murmured, blood metallic on her tongue. Her husband's silhouette towered above her like a vulture over carrion. "You'll learn your place, woman," he hissed, contempt sharpening every syllable. A kick landed in her shoulder, fresh white pain flaring through the old brakes. She had voiced a dangerous thought, that the Apache attacks had reasons. Settlers upstream had been tainting springs, slaughtering horses, and squeezing the land until nothing remained. To Cornelius Blackthornne, captain of the town militia, any sympathy for the natives was a betrayal. From the cabin window Marina watched a lone figure move through the pines, tall, copper-skinned, hair like black river silk catching the last of the light. An Apache scout. Their glances brushed for a heartbeat, his eyes deep and unreadable, hers wide with pleading. "Get up," Cornelius snarled, hauling her by the hair. "Supper won't cook itself." He dragged her toward the hearth, then froze as a horse's hooves pounded outside. "Militia's early," he barked. "You keep quiet or you'll get worse than broken bones." Marina edged to the sash as he stepped onto the porch to greet his men. The scout had vanished into the trees, but something small gleamed in the dirt where he'd stood, a sliver of turquoise tied in leather. A token, a message. Pressing her forehead to the cool pain, she watched Cornelius gesturing fiercely to his companions, talking strategy. They were plotting something terrible, an operation that would flood the canyon with blood. Panic hammered in her chest against splintered ribs. She alone knew what she must do. After Cornelius collapsed into drunken sleep that night, Marina pushed herself into the black air despite each movement searing like white fire through her torso. She picked the deer paths leading toward Apache lands, the turquoise knot warm in her fist like a secret. Willow Creek slept behind her, innocent in ignorance. Their beloved captain's wife was walking away to commit what the world would call treason. Moonlight silvered the canyon when she found him again, stepping from the shadows as if conjured. He stopped and studied her fragile, bruised form, his voice low and cautious when he finally spoke. "Why do you come, broken bird?" Marina's knees failed. She fell and could not hold herself. "At dawn," she rasped. "They'll raid. Cornelius will poison the watering hole. 60 men, repeating rifles." He knelt, hand hovering near her cheek but not touching. "You risk everything warning those who would see us dead." The words were a blade that could have cut her in two. "You are not our enemy," she whispered. "I am not of them anymore." Surprise, or something like respect, flickered across his face. "I am Jana Nails, Nightwolf of Verah. And you?" The name he offered rolled over her like a prayer. She tasted how foreign her own name had become in her mouth. "Marina," she said at last. "Come," he said, lifting her with an ease that belied his size, carrying her through secret chasms she'd never known existed. His arms cradled her like a thing of fragile glass. The Apache camp rose out of the darkness, wickiups gathered under towering red rock, firelight painting faces lined with stories. They watched her approach with curiosity, not immediate hostility. An elder woman emerged from the largest lodge, silver hair braided like river foam, eyes that had seen the turn of many seasons. Jana called her grandmother in quick, clipped tongue. She frowned when she learned why the white woman had come, then set about mixing herbs with hands that had tended countless wounds. "Why do you care if our horses die?" she demanded in halting English. "Because it's wrong," Marina said through clenched teeth. "Because a life must mean more than what it can be used for. Because there has to be another way." Her voice barely held. Jana's dark eyes, reflecting firelight, held her like a mirror. "Because I believe." The old woman began grinding bitter roots into a cup and pressed it into Marina's hands. "Your husband will search," she warned. "He will kill to keep his pride." The bitterness shocked the pain into a sharper awareness. Marina's mouth tightened with a truth she had felt for years. Cornelius had always treated her like property, beating out sparks of spirit until there was little left. Scouts returned with urgency in their step. "Soldiers are moving on the springs," Jana reported. "We must move the stock." Marina forced herself upright and told them what she knew. Cornelius had colluded with higher officers, water would be poisoned. The attack was meant to force the Apache onto reservations. The warrior's jaw clenched. Suspicion morphed into anger. The elder's gaze slid over Marina like a weighing scale. She cannot go back, she said. And if she stays, some will suspect a trap. Janna's voice softened. We cannot keep her long. Thunder rolled though the heavens were clear, the distant hoofbeats of a fast-moving column. They come sooner, Janna said, rising. Someone had spotted their movements. Marina's breath hitched. She had brought danger to their doorstep. Cornelius's voice cut the night like a whip. Bring out my wife or I burn this nest. From a slit in the wiki-up cover Marina watched the militia on the rim, rifles catching the lunar sheen. 43 men. Janna's men numbered fewer, but all knew the ground like the lines of their own hands. You can't be certain I'm here, Marina whispered to Janna. He's a hound for wounded pride. He'll tear this place apart until he finds me. The old woman handed a rifle to a young warrior and spoke in a tone that stopped any rashness. Fighting now is death for many. Wait. The young men bristled with the hot iron of vengeance. Janna's restraint was a tether around a pack of wolves. Outside, Cornelius's threats ratcheted up. 1 minute, savages, then we fire. Marina moved, each step a chorus of agony. I have to go to him, she said. You will not, Janna said firmly. You will stay. I will not let him burn you. She pressed her palm to Janna's cheek in a fierce, childish kindness. I won't have your blood on my hands. Janna's fingers closed around her wrist. There is another way, he said. The old woman closed her eyes and murmured of visions, of choices that could twist fate toward healing or ruin. It will demand sacrifice. A single rifle report cracked, not at the camp but in the air, a final summons. Time's up, Cornelius roared. Janna rose and stepped out into the pale ring of moonlight with his hands visible and empty. You want woman, he called brokenly, deliberately trading his dignity for distraction. I trade myself. Cornelius leaned forward in his saddle, greed and violence warring for dominance. The militia recognized the name, Nightwolf, a specter who'd felled soldiers like the bitter wind felled reeds. The prospect of capturing him alive thrilled their cruelty. Marina felt her blood chill. He was offering himself as bait, a bargain to spare her. But she also knew Cornelius. He was a man who would take a prize and then torch the nest for the pleasure of dominion. She tensed to dash out when the elder's hand pressed her shoulder. Wait. Watch. The old woman's whisper was a command, and a promise. Apache warriors, like ghosts called from the rocks, had crested the rim. Rifles leveled. Dozens, silent and poised. Janna's English came suddenly sharp and perfect. Now trade is different. You leave, and you never return. You forget you saw this woman. You live. The standoff stretched taut as bowstring. Cornelius's hand hovered at his holster but faltered, pride warred with survival. I have 43 men, he snarled. We can take you. Janna's answer was simple. We know these canyons. We are 70. Who counts? The calculus of threat shifted under the rising sun. Governor Pendleton materialized like an omen, cutting the canyon air with presence and authority. His gray gaze swept the scene, calculating carnage like a merchant counts coin. You will stand down, he ordered. His guards moved like puppets at a master's tug. If Pendleton had come, the affair moved from personal to political. He wanted an example. He wanted a spectacle to remind both whites and Indians where the balance lay. Captain, he said to Cornelius, your wife was seen leaving your cabin freely. She came to warn us of poisoned springs. The words landed like ice. Witnesses, he meant, evidence. Marina felt the cliff of fate under her feet lean farther. She stepped from her hiding and into the pale morning light, ribs screaming but voice steady. This is not war, she said. This is murder. Poisoning water, burning stores, killing children, that is not battle. Cornelius spat and snarled accusations back, his swagger hollowing into bluster. He called her traitor, the word aimed to strip her bare before the crowd. Janna moved in a blink, knife at Cornelius's throat as if he had crossed the space on wind. You will not call her that, he said softly. Pendleton's smile was the curve of a viper. How touching, he said. A love that will end in tragedy. He signaled and rifles rose. The woman will hang for treason. The warrior for kidnapping. This camp will burn as a lesson. Marina's world tightened to a single filament. The rifles, the faces, the possible end. She stepped forward despite the gun barrels pointed at Jana. Make the example right, she said, voice surprising in its clarity. If you want justice, investigate. Look in his saddlebags, the second compartment, left side. You will find letters tied to Senator Vasquez and receipts. Ask why Cornelius has more in his pocket than his pay allows. Murmurs rippled through the militia ranks. Cornelius's face drained. The governor's expression went cold, the theater shifting as greed might be punished by law. Marina had given them a new bargain, not a spectacle of terror, but the possibility of retribution that could sting the men who abused power. It was a risky offer, but it was, she hoped, the kind of trade that could save lives and change the ledger by which justice was counted. And in that dangerous, fragile pause, with two worlds poised like scales about to tip, Marina understood that whatever came next would not just be about survival. It would be about who they were willing to become.